Hello, it's Steph here at the Bead shop in Nottingham, and today I'm going to show you how to create tubular chenille stitch. This is one of my favourite stitches. It's just really tactile, it feels great, and I love the way it looks almost like there's interwoven pieces of cord almost, but it's all made up with beads. This is a piece that's made with entirely size 8 seed beads. This one is a bracelet that we used to teach actually, and it's really popular, and this is made with 3mm Swarovski pearls and size 8 seed beads, and we used to sew a magnetic clasp onto the end, so actually just stitching that directly to the clasp there, and then attached a safety chain, and then it just magnetises together. So that was really effective. It does make a really nice chunky bracelet, but what I quite like is just using a section of it to create a necklace. So this was a piece of beading I created and then threaded 2mm leather cord through to make a necklace. And I've actually recently made myself a really chunky version. I really like this. It's got the Swarovski 4mm pearls there, that's the dark lapis colour, and size 5 hematite seed beads, so it's nice and chunky. I really enjoyed that. And then I actually used some of our new macrame cord twisted together to make a cord for it to slide onto, and I just like the way you get a little pop of colour in between sort of the mesh effect there. So I'm going to create another necklace today, and for this I'm going to use 3mm pearls, so that's the light grey colour, and then also size 8 iridescent blue seed beads. I just think the two go together quite nicely, and it works well with the contrast of a light and a dark. And then I'm actually going to create this so that I can slide it straight onto a silver-plated snake chain. So that would be a nice feature on that, and it's a really simple, elegant way to wear beadwork. So I've cut myself a long but manageable piece of beading thread. I'm using Nymo, but you can use whatever kind of beading thread you prefer. I wouldn't use anything too stiff like a thick wildfire for this, just because you need a little bit of springiness to give it its nice texture. And then I'm just using a trusty, slightly bent needle, which is a size 12. But the size of holes in these, you'd probably be all right with a 10 as well. So to begin with, I'm just going to pick up 6 of the size 8 seed beads. So there's 6 on there. And then I'm going to slide these to the end, leaving a little bit of a tail, enough to sew in at the end. But I'm just going to secure this with a knot. So I'm going to go around once and then twice. That's just going to stop things from moving around quite so much as I get going at the beginning. And then I always like to go through the first bead so I'm not right next to the knot before I start beading. So there we go. So that's the very start. So very straightforward. A little ring of beads, 6 seed beads there. So now I'm going to pick up a 3mm pearl and slide through the next 2 seed beads in that first ring. I'm going to pick up another one and go through the next 2. And then pick up another size 3mm pearl and then go through the next 2 seed beads. So you end up with what looks a little bit like a triangle to begin with. You can at this stage, if any of the pearls are sitting slightly wonkily, just straighten those up to make the next row a little easier. And then to step up at the end of this row and be in the right place for the next row, we just need to go through that first pearl again. Oops. There we go. So that's technically 2 rows done. And this third row, we're going to pick up 2 seed beads, thread through the next pearl, pick up 2 more seed beads, thread through the next pearl, pick up 2 more and thread through the next pearl. Now your needle may well want to go through the first seed bead at the same time, and if it does, let it, because that's the next step we need to do. So our thread will be exiting out of the first bead of the first pair that we added in that round. And what you want to do now is just gently ease up your beads. So rather than it being a flat triangle, it's a little bit more tubular. And now we're back to picking up pearls. So I'm going to pick up 1 pearl, thread through the second of that pair of seed beads and also the first of the next pair of seed beads, so that the little pearl sits snugly between the pair of seed beads. And then we'll do the same again. Tension's quite important in this, so you don't want to lose tension. So I'm just trapping my thread between my index and middle finger on my left hand, which I'm using to hold my beadwork. So I've got my next pearl on there, so I'm going through the second seed bead of that pair, and then I'll go through the first of the next pair. If you feel your tension is loosening off at all, you can tighten it up, and it will be easier to do that as you go rather than trying to do it all at the end. So we need 1 more pearl. So that's again going to sit between that pair of seed beads. So in that seed bead and up the next. Now to step up in this row, we're going to go through that first pearl, but I find sometimes it doesn't want to, the needle doesn't naturally want to go through there, so I'm going to pull it through the seed bead and then go through the pearl. There we go. So that's our next row complete. So you can just about start to see how that netting effect comes together. So chenille stitch is a little bit like a combination of a row of herringbone and a row of netting. So the seed bead has been herringbone, picking up 2 beads at a time. So we're going to fill the gaps between the pearls with 2 seed beads on each side. So 2 there, 2 more, and final pair. So through the pearl and that first seed bead, if it will go. There we go. I'm just going to pull that tension up. So that's next row complete. So now we're back to the pearl row. So that is picking up a pearl to go in between the pairs of seed beads. So through that seed bead and the next, jumping over the previous pearl. Add another. So that's through the second seed bead, jump over the previous pearl and up that seed bead. And then final pearl, so through that seed bead, up the next, and if you can, well, it's not going to happen, you want to finish that row by stepping up through that first pearl added in this row. So it's quite a straightforward pattern really, and again you can see how quickly it's growing. So we're just alternating those 2 rows, so it is 2 seed beads between the pearls and then step up at the end. Then it is a pearl in between each pair of seed beads, step up at the end. So I'm going to do 2 more rows, and then I will speed this up so you don't have to watch me slowly creating this. You can pause the video at any stage, rewind, or even slow down the sped up section if you do want to watch it step by step. So that's the seed bead row complete. So that was 2 in between every pearl. And I stepped up at the end there through that seed bead. There. And then it is the pearl row. Oops, don't want 2 on there. So through the next 2 seed beads, keeping your tension tight. Next pearl. And then final pearl of this row. So. If the holes are hard to get through because they're just hidden by the other beads, you can just manipulate your beading. You see there, I'm just giving it a little squeeze and that just eases round and exposes the hole a little better. And through that last pearl step up there. Right, so those are the steps. You can see there it's nice working with contrasting beads because the pearls really stand out, and it also helps to see where you're going on each round. So I'm just going to continue beading now, but speed this section up, and then I'll join you again for the end. This bit of beading can be as long or as short as you want. Obviously, if you're creating a bracelet, you do want to measure your wrist or the wrist of the person it's going to be for, and consider the space that will be made up, taken up by the clasp as well, whichever type of clasp you choose. For what I'm doing, where I'm going to be threading this onto a snake chain, I might just work until I've got to the end of my thread. I only want a short little piece. That's just convenient. I won't have to join in any more thread. But really, you can do it as long or as short as you want. If you do run out of thread, I would rejoin your thread at after a row. So when I was creating this one, I did run out of thread and had to rejoin it. And what I did is tied 2 pieces together, but really close to the end of a row. I could then continue beading, and then at the end I wove those ends in and secured them with some half hitch knots. Right, so Okay, so you want to, when you're ready to finish your bit of beading, you want to pause after you've added a pearl row, and then we're going to add the seed beads in the same way. So I'm picking up 2 and adding those between the pearls each time, as we have done throughout. And then after you've added all the pearls, rather than adding all the seed beads, rather than adding pearls, what we're going to do at this section is miss the pearls and just go through the seed beads again. So we're jumping over the pearl, straight through the seed beads, straight through the seed beads again, and then through the next set to finish like the top circle. You want to pull the tension firm but not super tight. This will then mimic the beginning, so where we started with the 6 and then added the pearls in after that first row. It just closes up the beginning and end and makes it more tubular rather than splaying out at the end. So now I'm just going to secure this with a half hitch knot. So I'm just taking the needle underneath the thread right next to the bead I'm coming out of, and then with that little loop that's created, take my needle through and pull that tight. That's going to stop the thread from moving around, and then I'm just going to do the same again. So I'm taking it through a few more of the beads again, tying another half hitch around existing thread, so to take it underneath and then through the little loop. And then I'm going to weave my end down into my beading, so it's important that I don't pull the tension out of place. So I'm just following where the thread path has already been, so I'm not creating any new exposed threads. So I'll take it down here. If you feel like your thread's loose at all, or for the extra peace of mind, you can tie an additional knot. You might just find that it isn't necessary. Sometimes I do tie a tiny little knot just lower down to ensure that the thread won't work itself free. I tend to find everyone has their own methods for securing thread, so if you have a way that you prefer, feel free to do that. This is just the way I do them. So take it down through a few more beads before I cut off the end there. I'm going to thread my needle onto the end section. Now, if you wanted to, say, sew a magnetic clasp on like these ones here, what I would do at this stage is, rather than tying it off on this final loop, I would go through one bead here. So I would then add just one seed bead between the pairs, and that way I'll create a smaller end with just 3 beads, and then I would stitch back and forth, connecting each of the pairs of beads on top through the loop of the clasp. If I'm attaching a clasp in that way, I always sort of doubly make sure I've gone through several times to ensure that it's nice and secure. But for what we're doing in this one, creating a tube, I can just thread through a couple of beads and tie a knot. Now, we already know there's a knot in this end from when we started, so you don't need quite so many knots to secure it. So that'll be enough there, and then I'm just going to snip that end off. And I now have my really nice bit of tubular chenille stitch. And it really is satisfying. I just think it's very effective, especially with the two contrasting colours. So now all I need to do to finish it, because I'm using an existing ready-made chain, it always looks nice on a snake chain. It's just got that lovely movement to it. I'm going to slide the end of the snake chain straight down there, and that simply is complete. And I hope you'll agree that that's just a really nice, effective way of showing off a bit of beadwork. And once you're wearing that, it just has that nice curve to it, and it's just really effective. But I'd love to know what you do with your chenille stitch. So if you've enjoyed the video, feel free to share your makes, however you create your chenille stitch, with us on social media, or comment below. We always love to see what people make, and hopefully you'll join us next time. Bye for now.